How do we not live under authoritarianism?
Yeah. What do you think authoritarianism is?
Buddy, I'm not doing stupid shit like this. Like, you've strawmanned me already, you've called me dictator of the world, and now you're just trying to say, every time I make a statement, you say, define the last word that you said.
You may not want to answer the question, but it is a debate, so help me to understand. Does your worldview, this secular humanist worldview that you adhere to, is there a normative authority? And what happens if another secular humanist comes to you and says, you know what, these Christians, I don't believe in God, but they make some pretty damn good points.
This is what that term means. It's not Christian, it's not even theistic, really. There's this argument that gets tossed around that everything we have that is good is thanks to Christians and Christian ideas. As I stated earlier, I don't find a shred of anything in the Bible that supports the important rights we currently possess. The stuff we all are fans of that you do find in the Bible, like don't lie, don't murder, these are universal ideas. They're not Christian ideas. The Enlightenment was profoundly instrumental in creating the better systems we currently enjoy, and it was explicitly grounded in humanism and reason, not moral authority from God. This is where secular humanism draws its inspiration.
Thank God you guys voted yes, because it's honestly just a history lesson of all the different people who don't like Christianity, all the different philosophers who don't like Christianity, and then it says all the bad things that Christianity has done, all the bad things that the Bible says, yada, 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 completely misses the whole point. So let's get into the
start.
My opening is only 5 minutes or so.
All right, first of all, it's a bit of a funeral in here, guys. So first of all, make some noise. One more.
Got to get the crowd up and about, you know, got to work the crowd a little bit.
All right, sorry, I had to do that. My bad. Okay, thank you for the history lesson, Planet Peterson. I appreciate that. Didn't hear many arguments, but the history lesson was well enjoyed. So let me introduce you guys to my argument today, which is the Christian Authoritarian Humanist Manifesto, a precursor to the Christian Authoritarian Humanist Manifesto of 2025.
Now, some of you who haven't, I mean, many people wouldn't know anything about the Secular Humanist Manifesto 3, and fair enough, because who cares? But I have to know about it. So what we did was we just got the Secular Humanist Manifesto and we just changed a few words to make it the Christian Authoritarian Humanist Manifesto. It's very fluffy in its language, as you're about to see. It doesn't really say that much, as you're about to see, but this is a critique of his worldview, right? So just bear with me.
Christian authoritarian humanism is a conservative philosophy of life that, with supernaturalism, affirms our ability and responsibility to lead ethical lives of personal fulfillment whilst aspiring to the greater good of humanity. The life stance of Christian authoritarian humanism is guided by reason, inspired by courage to confront the unknown, and informed by self-serving yet self-evident experiences, encouraging us to live life well and fully. It has persisted throughout the ages and continues to evolve through efforts of thoughtful people who recognize the values and ideals necessary to achieve the greater good. These values adapt as our knowledge and understanding of the greater good advance. This document is part of an ongoing effort to articulate the conceptual boundaries of Christian authoritarian humanism. It provides what we must believe, and if necessary, we will enforce consensus in what we do believe. In the spirit of absolute divine justice and for the integrity of all of mankind. It's actually remarkable how closely my views align with my opponents, albeit with a subtle but crucial nuance. And it reads as follows. Number one, knowledge of the world is derived by observation, experimentation, and rational analysis. Human beings are complex, imperfect creations, yet Christian authoritarian humanists hold that science is an effective tool to guiding humanity towards its ideal form. Whilst original sin corrupted man, science can assist in enhancing the qualities necessary for flourishing.
See, us Christians, we use science as well, especially us Christian authoritarian humanists. We use science. We love science. Science is the best.
Number two, humans are an integral part of nature, the result of divine creation. We recognize nature as self-existing and accept the life God has given us as sufficient and complete. Number three, ethical values are derived from God's preferences, needs, and interests, as tested by human experience. Christian authoritarian humanists ground their values in God's concern for human welfare extended out to the global ecosystem. We are committed to cultivating individuals of inherent worth and dignity, making informed choices in the context of intelligence and resilience, and acting responsibly towards family and God. Number 4, life fulfillment emerges from participation in the service of God's ideals. We strive for our fullest development, animating our lives with purpose rooted in God. We find wonder in the pursuit of intergenerational human flourishing, embracing challenges and tragedies, even in the inevitability of death. Christian authoritarian humanists rely on the rich heritage of biblical culture and God's providence to provide comfort in times of want and encouragement in times of plenty. Number 5, humans are social by nature and find meaning in relationships with those who resemble them. We aspire toward a world of mutual understanding grounded in shared racial, political, and social relations, resolving differences cooperatively without resorting to violence. The combination of individuality and state guidance enriches our lives and inspires us to enrich the lives of others just like us, fostering peace, justice, and opportunity for those of our kind. Number 6, working to the benefit of the state benefits society, which maximizes individual happiness. Conservative cultures have tirelessly worked to elevate humanity above the brutalities of foreign savages, degenerates, and all who defy God's edicts, promoting human flourishing, reducing suffering, and developing a global community among those of shared values. We aim to minimize inequities of circumstance and ability, using science to preemptively eliminate conditions that hinder the development of intergenerational human flourishing. We advocate for positive
Keyword intergenerational human flourishing.
stewardship of nature's resources, focused on mankind's ability to utilize them for life, flourishing, and progress. In conclusion, what I'm advocating for through my manifesto is maximal intergenerational human thriving for all, where the church and the state have a symbiotic relationship. We believe in elevating the social status of women, whose central role in humanity must be recognized through education and their nature and their natural capacity for motherhood. Humans cannot exist without women, and their contribution is both vital and sacred. In the name of progress, justice, and the continuation of humanity, we advocate for the responsible cultivation of this resource. And what does my opponent advocate for? Well, what you're going to notice throughout the entire course of this debate is that he will advocate for measures that are low time preference, meaning only good for the here and now, autonomy, my freedom, my rights at the expense of future generations. I argue, within reason, for the responsible use of authority to prevent behaviours detrimental to future generations, securing long-term flourishing of humanity and the realisation of the greater good. With that, I cede my time.
That's how you open a debate!
Avarice in full voice.
Statement.
I want a project
Is a dialogue. It is not your opportunity to try to ask as we go from
Which
60 minutes open dialogue.
Into the opening dialogue.
All right, Planet Peterson, I would first like to know which humanist manifesto you follow. Is it 1? Is it 2? Is it 3?
I don't follow any manifestos.
So it's the Planet Peterson manifesto?
No. Do you know it? I don't think you know it's secular human.
This is a brutality because ultimately this means that he is the authority. He is the normative authority on secular humanism. If he doesn't have something that he at least abides by or something that he follows, then it is down to Planet Peterson and his own brain and his own interpretation, and he is the supreme leader. And you'll notice that the Christian Authoritarian Humanist Manifesto is my manifesto, so I'm also the supreme leader here.
Humanism is.
Well, secular humanism has 3 manifestos, right?
It's the manifestos are not what secular humanism is. I defined it in my opening.
But so what do you follow then? Is it just Planet Peterson's manifesto?
No, I don't know what you mean by what do I follow. I mean, I try not to break the law. I have all kinds of private ideas, and yeah, try not to. I have all kinds of private ideas, but I get my inspiration from the culture I live in. Everybody does that. I think the vast majority, I went over this in my history lesson, but the vast majority of the good ideas that have shaped this world that you and I can comfortably live in, anybody of any walk in faith can comfortably live in, are reasoned from a kind of secular humanism.
So private ideas. So it is So you are the authority on secular
I
humanism.
explicitly said actually kind of the opposite of that. I said I do have my own private ideas, but I draw inspiration from the culture.
You
I
draw
live in.
inspiration, but we're talking about your ideas. We're not talking about, this sort of fluffy language about I draw inspiration from the. Who is the authority? Does your worldview have a normative authority or not? I'm the authority of Christian authoritarian humanism.
I don't think that it has an authority because I don't think I actually have a question about that in here. So that's really funny that you said that. No, I don't claim to be an authority. I don't want to live under authoritarianism. I don't think you do as well. I mean, like you believe God has like the ultimate authority. So like in that
I think we
kind of
already
sense-
live under authoritarianism.
This is why it's Christian authoritarian humanism as opposed to Christian totalitarian humanism.
I mean, okay, that's interesting, but no,
What's interesting about it? Tell me how we don't.
How do we not live under authoritarianism?
Yeah.
Because we have a society that is structured under the consent of the governed.
What do you think authoritarianism is?
Buddy, I'm not doing stupid shit like this.
You
Like,
made
you're
a claim. You
turning
said
this
you don't
into
live
a
under
clown
authoritarianism,
show,
but what is it?
And you're trying to, you've strawmanned me already. You've called me dictator of the world, and now you're just trying to say, every time I make a statement, you say, define the last word that you said. So we live in a democracy. Democracies are not authoritarian.
I'm going to ask you again. You may not want to answer the question, but it is a debate. So what do you think authoritarianism is?
That's a good question. I would say it's something like subjugating the masses under ideas that are held by the few, the powerful, whatever.
I've actually got a definition. So we don't have proprietary definitions here. Proprietary definitions. I'll pull up a definition of authoritarianism and see if we can both agree to it, okay? James, the Wi-Fi's a little bit slow in here. Hey, it's okay. All right. So favoring or enforcing strict obedience to authority at the expense of personal freedom.
Do you think that that's bad?
So let's go again.
Okay. All right. So favoring or enforcing strict obedience to authority at the expense of personal freedom.
So favoring strict adherence to authority at the expense of personal freedom.
Do you think that that's bad?
No.
Okay.
I think we live under that right now. Your secular humanist society that we currently live under.
I asked you if you think it's bad.
No.
Oh, okay.
Do you think that we should have unlimited personal freedoms and never have any authority? Is that what you're saying?
No.
So then you think it's good.
No, because if it comes from the consent of the governed, then it's not top down and dictatorial.
Buddy,
and
that's what
authoritarian in
democracy
that
is.
sense.
You elect an authority and then you are obedient to the authority.
Yes, but we have representation and we have the power to dispose them if we want to.
But then there's another
By
authority.
peaceful means. If you're just going to say that everything is authoritarianism, then okay. This isn't very interesting. And it
I
has
find it
nothing
really
to do with-
interesting. Does the
it
audience
has
find
nothing
it
to do with
interesting?
Christianity.
I mean, look, like we live under an authoritarian. I think maybe you're thinking, I'm going to give you charity here. Maybe you're thinking of totalitarianism. That's not what I said. I said Christian authoritarian humanism. And we already live under an authoritarian society.
Yeah, we just disagree about that.
Okay, but let me help me to understand. Does your worldview, this secular humanist worldview that you adhere to, is there a normative authority? And what happens if another secular humanist comes to you and says, you know what, these Christians, I don't believe in God, but they make some pretty damn good points.
So this is the whole argument right here. So the idea is that the secular humanists, they just talk about human thriving and they use their reason to arrive at conclusions about human thriving. But under their worldview, if somebody arrives at the conclusion that the Christians have the exact right idea and that that is going to cause the most thriving, that's going to bring about the most human thriving, then what are they doing wrong? Is there anything that they're doing wrong? If my Christian Authoritarian Humanist Manifesto maximizes human thriving, then surely he would have to concede that that's the correct worldview. And if he says it's the wrong one, then under what authority?
And they govern. What's your beef with that?
What's my beef with if secular humanists say, hey, I listened to some Christians and they have good ideas?
Yeah, and we're going to govern accordingly, according to the Christian Authoritarian Humanist Manifesto.
Which doesn't exist, by the way. He copy and pasted the Secular Humanist Manifesto 3 and then just sprinkled Christianity on top of it.
Now, I would obviously never do such a thing.
I would never do that. I would never do that. But I'm glad you know what the Secular Humanist Manifesto is, at least.
A little bit.
Where were we before?
I don't know. I want to ask you some questions.
No.
So
we need to understand.
no, you don't get to
where
tell me no.
We need to understand.
That is absolutely
No.
The
not how this
authority
going
is
to work.
for secular humanism, according to Planet
I
Peterson.
have described
What do you
the
do?
principles of democracy already.
So democracy.
Yes, I think
democracy.
I think that's a very fine system to
Listen.
use.
What do you do if another secular humanist comes along and says, you know what? All this human thriving, these Christians, Christian authoritarian humanists, make a pretty damn good point. We're going to govern like that. What's your problem with that?
If the inspiration that those Christian secular humanists, Christian secular, that's funny, if the inspiration they draw from that is grounded in trying to understand the human condition and improve upon it, and believing that reason is our guiding principle, and they don't do it by saying, God is telling me we should do this, therefore we should do it, then it is just secularism, and I don't have a problem with that.
Okay, what is reason?
Reason is, that's an interesting question. I would just say it's the
It's a
tool
Jordan
we
Peterson moment. Gotcha.
use to try to, the mental tool we try to use to understand the world.
Am I using reason?
I don't think you're being reasonable, but I think so.
I think I'm using reason. So
Yes, that's very secular.
So
of
I
you, Jake.
used reason.
I
I'm a
take your
secular.
concession.
If I'm a secular humanist and I've used my reason to come to the conclusion that Christianity and the principles of Christianity, Christian authoritarian humanism, are better than yours, what is your problem with that?
I already answered that question, but this is hypocritical of you because you're not relying on authority from God. You have separated yourself from God to do this.
I mentioned him.
Yeah,
Many
you
times.
mentioned him, but you have not drawn your inspiration from it. You haven't proclaimed.
Where else did I get that from?
You didn't pray about it. You didn't
How do you
consult
know I
the
pray
council
about
of bishops. Well, I feel like you would have said so. You are not, like, God isn't in the equation anywhere in here.
God isn't in the equation.
No, you haven't brought him up.
I use God's preferences.
No, you didn't.
I said, do you not listening? I said
You're trolling,
I
and I'm
want to
gonna ask
adhere
you
to
some
God's
questions.
to God's preferences. Honestly, I don't even know if this debate can move forward unless I really understand like the crux of your worldview. Because right now it is just pure fluff. It is just whatever Planet Peterson says about being governed by reason. I've just demonstrated that I use reason. So what's the difference between you and I?
If you would have listened to my history lesson, you would have heard how I invoked philosophers who are both Christian and not Christian.
So then that would be the normative authority that he's talking about. If he invoked them and he used his reason, and his reason suggests to him that the philosophers are all right about Christianity that he mentioned, then that would be his normative authority. But he doesn't want to bite that bullet.
That informed the worldview that I espouse that I think is preferable. So I don't know what you're doing, but this is just ridiculous.
I'm trying to understand your worldview. I think I'm being pretty good faith here. I'm trying to understand. So you're saying that your philosophy, Planet Peterson, is an amalgamation of various different philosophers over history, okay? And you think that God's not real, so then you think we should use this metaphysical concept of reason to arrive at a thriving society. Have I steel-manned it well?
That's not bad.
Okay, well that means nothing.
You just described it, and you're going to tell me that it means nothing?
I can describe something that means
Magic
nothing.
doesn't exist. What you believe is magic. Therefore, it's nothing.
My magic.
I'll grant it, sure.
Okay.
All right.
How do we become a Christian society?
Well, a Christian authoritarian humanist society, you mean?
Jake, I'm actually interested in trying to have a somewhat intellectual exercise here.
I would love to, but I have no
But you're
idea
not
what you
going
think.
to. Great.
You're saying that you said to me before that things should be governed by reason. I demonstrated that I'm using reason. If somebody comes along to you as a secular humanist,
Then
and
that's
they are,
just secularism.
and they are using different principles, you actually have no way to combat that.
There's nothing to combat because you literally just appealed to a secular process of reason.
A
Like,
secular
I
process?
take
How is reason secular?
because you're not sourcing it in God. When
What if
you
I use reason to arrive at God?
Jake, when you reason, where is God doing any of the work?
If I use my own rational faculties, I'll grant to you, maybe God not real though, okay? Maybe God not real. If I
Even
use
if
my
God is
rational
real.
faculties to arrive at God, how am I not using reason?
I didn't say you're not using reason.
Okay,
I said
so
God's
then we're
not
back
part
to
of
the
the
start.
picture.
Equal playing field. I'm using reason. You're using reason. What separates us?
The way you keep twisting this is insane. I said God's not part of the equation, and then you admitted it, and then you flipped around and said to me, "So, Peterson, what's the problem?" I don't have a problem here yet. Your problem is that you're just abandoning your faith
How have I abandoned my faith?
because you explicitly said God's not part of the reasoning process.
There's a difference between saying I will grant an argument for the sake of debate and saying that God isn't real. That's not what I said. I said I'll grant it for the sake of the debate just so we can potentially get somewhere with this.
You should have listened when I interrupted you because I said, even if God exists, the process of us using reason is secular.
How is it secular? So you're saying Christians can't
What's
use
the
reason?
Where does God enter the equation when you have thoughts?
So you're-
Nowhere. You said that it's not part of the process.
Listen, so you're saying that Christians can't use reason?
No, I said when they use reason, that is divorced from God. It's not secular. There's no such thing as Christian math. There's no such thing as Christian science. There's no such thing as Christian me having an idea in my head.
So the idea here is that everything rational is secular. That that secularism has a monopoly on rationality, and that actually it is secular rationalism and secular maths. But check this out.
That makes zero sense.
But there is such thing as secular science, not just science.
Science just is secular.
So secular science is a thing.
I couldn't hear you.
Secular science, that's a thing.
Science is secular.
Science,
It's not, there's no God in the science.
science is science.
Yeah.
It's not secular science, it's just science. Christians use science just as well as secularists use science.
When I say secular, what I'm really meaning is that it's just devoid of this one thing. So then, yes, it just becomes tautological. Science is science. Math is math.
Yeah.
There's no Jesus math. There's no Buddha math. There's
Thank God
no
there's no
Muslim
secular humanist
science. There's just, those things just are what they are.
So then we can both use it. It doesn't belong to any of us in your worldview.
I'm willing to even grant for you, for the sake of the argument, maybe God isn't real. But what we're trying to arrive at here is outcomes. What we're trying to arrive at here is human flourishing. So I
Okay.
actually want to know, based on Planet Peterson's authoritarian secular humanism, because this is just coming purely from your brain, how do we arrive at intergenerational long-term human flourishing?
I have already answered that question.
Well, it's a debate.
I've already
Again.
addressed how you're strawmanning it by saying it's according to me. It's not according to me. But if we're going to talk about flourishing,
So then it must be according to something else. But anyways.
I looked up the countries that have the 10 biggest Christian populations. Only one of them outlaws abortion, but Egypt, Iraq, Sierra Leone, Senegal, and these are all Muslim countries. It's all illegal there, and throughout the Middle East and North Africa, it's extremely restricted. Half of the biggest Christian countries have legal gay marriage. There isn't a single Muslim majority country that allows it. As far as women voting, they can vote in all but 2 countries, but Christians were the first to give them the right to vote. Muslims were the last to do it. So do you envy them, those Muslim countries?
Where is this happening in Christian authoritarian humanist societies?
Do you envy these Islamic countries?
I mean, the reason why I'm going with this, that there's no Christian authoritarian humanist societies, it's because there's also no secular humanist societies, and there's definitely no Planet Petersonism secular humanist societies. So then I could just ask him on the same thing. I could essentially say, well, do you envy the Soviet Union? Do you envy Mao's China? Do you envy these societies that were secular? Well, it's not secular humanist. Those are just secular. That's different. Well, this is not Christian authoritarian humanist. That's different.
Where is this happening? That
If you're
Christian
not going to answer
authoritarian
any questions,
humanist
then I will not
societies.
answer any of your questions too. I'm done with the clown show.
Listen, this is not a clown show, buddy. You have got just as much as your worldview. You can't even explain it. You're just saying it's by
You
reason.
can't answer a yes or no
I'm
question.
just giving you what you're giving me. That's all I'm doing. Yours comes from your brain. Mine comes from my brain. What's the
Never
difference?
said that. Do you envy
You
these
didn't
cultures?
say it, but it's self-evident.
I promise you that I will ask you this exact same question for the rest of the time we have today. Do you envy these cultures?
So what? We're going to just take the debate hostage?
You're the one doing that by not answering the question.
Why don't you ask me about Christian authoritarian humanism, which is
Do you
my
envy
own
them?
construction rather than Muslim cultures?
Do you envy them?
You're just going to ask me this question? You're just going to be bad
I
faith
said
the
I
whole
was
time?
going to. Yeah.
You're going to be bad faith the whole time?
You're not answering
gonna
the
be bad
question
faith?
and you're calling
Really?
me bad faith. Do you envy them?
I'm not going to engage unless you're talking to me about
Then me
Christian
either.
authoritarian humanism.
All right,
All
then
right,
the moderator moves it
The
on.
question has been asked. Are you going to answer that
Moderator moves it on, and we do get past it.
question? Or
Do I envy them?
do you envy?
Ask the question again. We'll have to move this on. Someone's got to move it on.
I looked at the 10 countries that have the largest Christian populations. Only one of them outlaws abortion, half of them have gay marriage, and they were the first countries to give women the right to vote. Meanwhile, in Muslim majority countries, none of them allow gay marriage. Most of them outlaw abortion, and they were the last to forfeit the right for women to vote. So do you envy them?
Do I envy Sierra Leone? No.
Which group of countries is morally superior and why?
We're not talking actually about which group of countries are morally superior. We're talking
Yes,
about
we
our
are.
prescriptions for human flourishing based upon my worldview and based upon
Yes.
your worldview.
That
okay?
is exactly why I went to this, because you said I'm interested in an ethos or something that secures a long future of human flourishing or whatever. I know you're against these things. Christian countries aren't doing the things you're against. They are. So who's morally superior?
Well, I'm not Sierra Leone. My prescriptions are based upon my Christian authoritarian humanist manifesto, and I've outlined
And
my
still he
prescriptions.
won't answer the
if you want to
question.
ask me about Christian authoritarian humanism, you can do so.
I am. This
Okay,
is a question
okay.
about that. Which group is more morally superior? Sorry.
Which group is more morally superior?
Yes.
Who?
I'm asking you.
Out of like Sierra Leone and the Muslims, or?
These Muslim majority countries that outlaw things that you're in favor of outlawing, the Christian countries largely don't. Which one is morally superior?
You'd have to give me more context about the societies.
Just based off of that knowledge.
You just asked me
what
who's
would you
morally
judge?
superior. If they said Planet Peterson punched someone in the face yesterday, Jake didn't punch someone in the face yesterday, who is morally superior? I'd need to know a little bit more about the person.
But if you had to guess,
I'm
you'd
not gonna
probably
guess.
go with yourself. If you just won't, you refuse to engage in this.
It's a stupid question. Let's be
It's
be
not a
honest.
stupid question.
It is.
You're just a.
If you want, we can talk about.
It is a stupid question. It's just a loaded question is what it is. Because he's saying, well, this one aspect of the society, they do this better than this aspect of this society. Who is morally superior? It actually just is a loaded question that you just can't answer. Because like I said in my example, I could say, well, we've got two people over here. One of them punched someone in the face yesterday. The other one didn't. Well, you don't know why they punched them in the face. You don't know. And the guy who didn't punch someone in the face may be, a serial child abuser. Or he may be a murderer, and the guy who did punch someone in the face maybe punched someone in the face because he was protecting his family, So it's a loaded question. You actually can't answer it just off of that one little example.
What I think, rather than about what Sierra Leone
We
thinks.
can't talk about what you think. I asked you what you think, and you refused to answer the question. So you won't tell me what you think.
Listen, when
You
I asked,
won't do it.
When I asked you about your worldview, you were saying, "Oh, this is a stupid question. This is a stupid question." And you said to me, "Secular humanism is basically based upon reason. It's my interpretation of secular humanism that should govern society."
I am not the only person that has the capacity to do reason.
Okay,
Maybe
yeah,
in
I
this room, yes. But this is a human universal thing.
Shots
It's a
fired.
joke. Good grief.
All right, keep it down in the
If you
audience.
can't laugh at yourself, then you're dead inside, okay?